Hello, heathens! Welcome to another bumper, huge mega fall reading list. And today we are focusing on magic, witches. So as someone who dabbles in the magical arts and who would probably consider herself a witch, I love reading about witches. I mean, come on, right? It is one of my favorite things, and of course, the fall autumn season is perfect for the witchy vibes. Now, I have a list of over 30 books to talk about. Strap yourself in, get your pumpkin spiced latte or a cup of witch's brew, and join me in the magical realm of magic. So actually, this book here is incredible. It's Bohemian Magic. And who's the author? Veronica Yarlow. This is non-fiction, but oh my gosh, I love this. Some of the imagery in this book is insanely beautiful. So if you want a non-fiction book about magic and magical practices and Wicca, I would recommend this. But we're not here to talk about the real stuff. Sorry, I just wobbled my camera. Apologies. We're here to talk about the fantastical. So I have got dark, I have got light, I have got everything in between. So let me just start off with a book that I don't actually have here because I have a lot of books. Sometimes I struggle to find my copies, but it's a Discovery of Witches. So come on, this is following on from my Dark Academia video. Discovery of Witches falls under Dark Academia as well, but of course is about witches and vampires. And it is set in, I still can't remember if it's Oxford or Cambridge. I'm going to go with Oxford. It's more autumnal. Sorry, Cambridge. And it's about our witch Diana, who manages to call forth a sacred manuscript that holds the key and the secret to how the vampire race was created. A lot of magical beings want to get their hand on this manuscript, of course, but she wants nothing to do with this. She wants nothing to do with her magic or witches, so she sends it back and tries to deny her heritage. That never goes well. There's also a lot of romance between her and said vampire. It is a multi-book series. I think I've read up until book 3. I really need to finish the series. It's very good though. I would say the TV series as well. Absolutely watch it. I'm actually on season 2 of the TV series and I'm quite enjoying it. Season 2 gets historical because they go back to like Victorian London. So that's the first one. Then the next one, while we're talking about historical, I have right here. This is The Bewitching by Silvia Morena Garcia. Now, I read this book earlier this year, actually probably a couple of months ago, and I loved it. So this is Garcia's new release, is the newest release. This is, again, it's historical. It has dual timelines. And it's about a woman in the 90s now. I think it's a 90s timeline. Let me double check that. Please hold, because my memory is, yes, 98. And she is at this school, again, Dark Academia is involved in this witchy book. And she is, her thesis is on a horror author, a female horror author. And she's kind of doing this thesis and paper on her because she feels like this woman has been forgotten as a horror author in history. And she realizes that the woman in the 50s, I believe, studied at the same university, and her book, her horror novel, her very famous horror novel, was actually based on real events that happened about her friend going missing from this university. And then you find how this is interconnected with our main character's own family history and the things that may have happened to do with witches in her past, in her family. It is very, very good. It is very creepy. It is very spooky. It is perfect autumnal, and it's also perfect for spooky season reading. Oh, how am I going to do this? Well, they're all going on the floor. So the next book, Threadneedle by Carrie Thomas. I talk about the series a lot. I think it deserves a lot more love than it gets. So this is set in London. This is actually urban, kind of contemporary. And it focuses on a girl in the beginning who is living with her aunt, and her aunt practices a form of witchcraft that has to do with knots and embroidery and stitching, hence the thread and like this beautiful kind of embroidered cover. Her aunt is also very strict, very evil, frankly, and she kind of keeps this girl under very tight lock and key, and she teaches her that her magic is bad, it's wrong, it needs to be harnessed and controlled and bound. She's supposed to bind her magic when she turns 16, I believe, in this book. But then when she's at school, she has a friend and she meets other witches and a friend of her mother's who has passed away, who kind of has an opposing belief and an opposing system of magic. So there's different kinds of magic and systems of magic in here that are really, really good. And the story focuses both on kind of that coming of age, very much, or I say very much, Charmed, The Craft, Sabrina, those kind of vibes, very 90s witch vibes. These girls at school kind of discover their powers. They go into abandoned classrooms and practice their magic and go outside on the field and dance around and things like that. So it's wonderfully nostalgic, but there's also a very serious topic in terms of, I find, control and actually what this aunt is doing to our main character. And then also there's like a subplot of what's actually going on in the larger magical community. So it has actually some really, really dark elements to it, and then you kind of get this lightness from a more of a teen perspective. So even though I'm assuming it's YA because of the age of the characters, I don't necessarily think the book is written or the subject matter is particularly young at all. I think anybody can enjoy this. Then, on a much lighter note, this book. So this is the Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sandhu Mangana. Oh God, we're only how many 5 minutes into the video? This one is just a cozy, fun, witchy time. So it's about a girl who, when she's young, she's at this magical inn with her aunt, which her aunt runs, and her aunt kind of drops, right? So she's like, oh bugger, I need to revive her. She uses necromancy, which is forbidden. Verboten, you do not practice that. So she kind of gets kicked out of her magic school, kicked out of the magic guild, and it also saps most of her magic. So now as an adult, like 20 years later, she's running this inn. She's using the last of the little bit of magic she has to keep it going. But she wants her magic back, and a plot is devised in this book to try and get her magic back. There's also a romantic subplot, which is very cute, and a talking fox. So this is really very, very cozy. Then another book that I don't have to hand is In the Company of Witches. And it's very similar. It's at an inn that is run by witches. So again, think practical magic on this one. So you've got two aunts and their niece, who is actually grieving for the loss of her husband. And she's kind of, again, her magic's kind of, it's not disappeared, but she hasn't been using it. She's kind of rejecting it. And you've got this group of people that are staying at the inn. And then her aunts actually get accused of somebody in the village, and she goes and investigates and tries to figure out what actually happened to this person. There's a talking crow in this one. It is very cute, very cozy, very magical. And I believe the author, Aurelie Wallace, has a follow-up book to In the Company of Witches, which is out. And then either it's coming out now or soon. She has another book, I think, called The Nighttime Witches or The Night Witches. I'm really interested in reading both of those, but if you like a nice cozy, I'd recommend that. Then going from cozy to something that made me laugh, cry, smile, just everything about this book I loved. It was my perfect read. It is Harry Potter for adults. It is so good. It's dark academia in a way because it's set at a magic school. But our protagonist in this is a 20-something-year-old, late 20s, who gets sent back to magic school after failing out of it the first time and gets told, you're a terrible witch, you can't get a spell right, you flunked out the first time you were in the lowly house that everybody laughed at. But guess what? You and your motley crew of companions that have all been brought back as adults to magic school are going to save the world from Nocta, who is the big bad and is currently blowing up Central Park and trying to overthrow the good witches, ? So this is so good. It's got humor, it's got stakes, it's got heart, it's got found family. And it's that typical underdog story, which I love, of this real group of motley misfits who have been told all their lives that they're rubbish. And hey, guess what? They may be a lot more powerful than everybody else thought they were. I love that one. Then another recent read, we've got The Scholar and the Last Fairy Door. So this book is very, very, it's steeped in history. Again, it's steeped in dark academia in the sense that our main character, her brother, went to war. Now, in this world, it's kind of adjacent to our world, except the Great War that happened. So this book is set in the 20s. So the Great War that happened included an incident where a fairy door was opened, a fairy escaped and ended up a bunch of soldiers. Now, the government has decreed that these fairy doors will now be permanently closed in order to make sure nothing like that can happen again. But our main character, her brother Matthew, went to war. He was involved in this attack, but he was one of the few people that survived it. He's now stuck with a fairy curse, which is really gross, but really cool. It travels up your body, and obviously as it travels to your heart, then you're a goner, but it almost turns your body to wood, and it gets worse in certain times of the year and on certain nights where they literally have to like strap him down to a bed because the fairy's trying to get in via him. It's almost like trying to possess him. It's very dark, it's very cool. And then you have this kind of academic side of it where in order to help him, she decides to learn magic and actually go to this magic school, this very famous magic university, where normally only the scions of magical families, magic is passed down in bloodlines in this world, go, and they're all very rich and very snobby, and she's there on a scholarship and she's not from a magical family. So again, it's her trying to gain power, understand what's going on in this world. She then teams up with these 4 other people and becomes a little bit I kind of said Saltburnish in a way, which I loved if you've watched Saltburn. And then things really, really go sideways, as you can imagine, when people are trying to open fairy doors. I loved every second of this book. I thought it was fantastic. Sorry, my floofy witchy outfit keeps falling off my shoulders. Then another all-time favorite is Tales of a Monstrous Heart by Jennifer Delaney. The second book is, well, no, it has come out, Tales of Deadly Devotion. I just haven't got a copy yet because I'm waiting for the Goldsboro's very special edition, and I want that one. But I love this. This is one of my favorite books. This is about a girl. She is actually Fae. She's Fae in this world. And in this world, there was a war, and actually the Fae lost, and they're now seen as third-rate citizens. Everybody hates them. They're feared, they're hated. And she basically spends her days in this university studying magic in this library. She kind of had to suppress her own magic a little bit, but she's kind of hated by everyone. She's supposed to find a partner in the beginning to do like almost like an end of school, like a thesis. But of course, her being Fae, no one wants to team up with her until this mysterious lord with this rather terrible reputation decides that he's going to team up with her. And she's like, whoa, what? So she travels to his manor with her companion, who turns into a cat. It's so good. Also, the library, the opening scene in the library with the flying books and the demonic books, and it's so good. But anyway, she goes to this beautiful Gothic crumbling castle, and there they proceed to study magic and also what is going on in this world. And there's certain diseases that are happening, and they're trying to work this out. And again, it all descends into chaos with magic and fighting and trying to save the world. And at the end of this book, tore my heart out. So I'm really hoping book 2 is going to restore my heart. Otherwise, you're just going to see me a sobbing mess for the next month. Then this book I actually have not read, but I've read the first book in the series. So this one is on my this year's TBR for the spooky season. This is Ascension by S.T. Gibbs. Evocation is book 1. And this focuses, this has a kind of, I would say, the first book focuses very heavily on the romance between these 3 characters, but the backdrop of it is really cool, and I'm hoping I'm going to get more of the backdrop in this one. So you have these 3 characters, and our main character is David. His family made a deal with the devil for their kind of riches and their wealth, but now the devil's come back to collect, and it's David's 30th birthday, and he's about to get sacrificed. Of course, he's trying to prevent this, so he enlists the help of his friend Reese, who also used to be his boyfriend, who is now married to the lovely Moira, both of which she does tarot. They're all involved in this like occult society, and it's all got a very witchy occult background, which was wonderful. And he basically asks them, I've got a problem here, I'm about to turn 30 and the devil wants me. Can you help? So that is the premise of the first book. I don't know where the second book's going, but I cannot wait to read the second book in that series. Then another oldie but a goodie, we've got Dead Witch Walking. This is by Rachel Harrison. Kim Harrison, not Rachel Harrison. Why do I keep saying Rachel? Kim Harrison. This is book 1 in a very long series, but a very, very good one, which focuses our main character, Rachel, who is a magical bounty hunter. She's also a witch. And in the beginning of this book, she kind of loses her job in the supernatural FBI. So she sets up her own kind of bounty hunting detective agency, along with her friend Ivy, who is a living vampire, and her other friend and business partner Jinx, who is a pixie and sits on her very large hoop earring. It's wonderful. There is every kind of magical creature in here. Perfect urban fantasy. I think more people should be reading this series It is phenomenal. There's going to be a large box of books that I have to clean up after this. Best hex ever. So this is by Nadia El-Fassi. I read this a few months ago and I wish I'd read it at Halloween. I absolutely love this. This is perfect for Halloween because it's actually set at Halloween. And this is a romance. It is sweet, it is heartwarming, it is funny, but it's also wonderful spooky vibes. So our main character here owns a a coffee shop. She owns a coffee shop. She does a lot of baking and she kind of infuses magic into her baking. And she is invited to her friend's wedding and they go to, it's at this beautiful like estate and it's going to be at Halloween. And this whole kind of town is very, you know, perfect autumn vibes, very magical, very sort of cinnamon spiced apple bobbing, that kind of thing. And in the beginning she has a visitor in her coffee shop who is a professor, I believe at the Royal Academy or the British Museum, and they kind of have a little moment and then they see each other again on the train and they realize they're both going to the same wedding. He's the best man and she's the bridesmaid, and then magic and love may ensue. The second book in the series is coming out, I believe it's the beginning of October. I cannot wait to read it. It's about one of the other friends who is a horror novel writer and her book has been turned into a film. I cannot wait to read that. I really, really enjoyed this. I highly recommend if you want a cozy romantasy. Then A Treachery of Swans. This is by A.B. Parenek. This is kind of it has a very dark fairy tale-esque feel to it. So this is about a sorcerer who in this kind of kingdom and in this world, magic was a thing, people did it, and then it kind of got outlawed by the crown, and only the crown, even the actual crown, holds all the magic. Now, the sorcerer, who's also the owner of the local theatre, wants his magic back, and he thinks the best thing to do is to perform a heist and steal this crown. So he enlists the help of his adopted daughter to do that. There's a very cool thing in here where in order to infiltrate the castle and steal the crown, the daughter has to wear a pendant that allows her, it's an owl pendant, that allows her to look like the girl that is going to be betrothed to the future prince. So she basically steals her identity and this poor girl turns into a swan. Yeah, later on they do team up because things are not as they seem, but it is a sapphic love story as well. It's wonderfully magical. It'll just give you all of the vibes. Then one that I just recently read is Immortal Pleasures. This is by Ivy Marie. So this book is phenomenal. Okay, so it is dark because it is set essentially in purgatory. So all of our characters are quite young, so they're sort of 17, 18, 19, that kind of age, and they have sadly passed away. But instead of moving on to the afterlife, they have gotten stuck at this academy. And it's kind of purgatory, and what they do is they try to help souls move on that are trapped in the ether. And they kind of spend the rest of their immortal life there unless they can become a specific type of shall we say, immortal mover-honor in this world. They have to compete in a contest to do that. So this has a very cool contest element as well. I would say the subject matter, even though this is YA, is very dark because of obviously what is discussed in the whole concept of somebody very young passing and then being stuck in the underworld. They also start to lose their memories, which is pretty horrific. And if they lose their memories completely, they're just kind of shoved off into the ether. There's also something else going on with shadow magic in the background here. So again, are they the good guys? Question mark. Book 2 better come very, very quickly, but I hugely recommend this. Then this book is stunning. This is in the vein of the best 90s witch films. If you love your Sabrinas, if you love your Crafts, if you love your Charmed, I would say read this. It is adorable. So this is The Glittering Edge by Alicia Valare. I don't know, I think I'm saying that right, but this really just kind of took me back to being the witchily inclined teenager. So again, it's quite a sad and dark kind of setup to the story. So our main character's mother is in hospital and she is basically just clinging to life and her life is slowly fading away. And it turns out the reason this is happening is because she's been caught in the crossfire of these two families in this town who have been warring for decades. They're both witch families, and the one has cursed the other family. And a bit like in Practical Magic, if somebody from this family falls in love, that person will cease to exist. So her mother has actually fallen in love with the aunt of this family. So our main girl is trying to figure out, how do I save my mom? And she obviously gets entangled in what has been going on between these families for years. And she starts to unravel the history. She starts to unravel the mysteries in this town, obviously not being aware that there was magic to start off with, but hey, hello, there's witches. And there's also a beautiful, I'd say a love triangle-ish, but there is a clear winner, and there's a very beautiful romance in this. I loved it. I think it can be read as a standalone, although I do believe there may be another book in the series, but I think you can very satisfactorily read this as a standalone. I loved it. Then another book that I don't have right here, but I think is a classic and needs to be read, even though it's over 1,000 pages long, and I read all 1,000 pages, I also read the other books, is The Witching Hour by Anne Rice. So if you like epic historical witches through generations, think Gone with the Wind, but witches, think Vampire Chronicles in one book, but with the witches, actually they do kind of overlap at some point, but The Witching Hour I adored. I read it many, many years ago when I was a teenager, and I loved it. I'm also currently about to start season 2 of The Mayfair Witches, which is the TV program based on that book. So if you cannot be bothered to read 1,000 pages of Anne Rice, I recommend the TV show because it was very good. I really enjoyed it. At least season 1 was. I'm waiting to enjoy season 2. So that's one that I don't have here because I want to get a new copy. I love the reissue cover. Moving on. This is Wild as the Witch by Rachel Griffin. This is beautiful. Very gentle, very lovely, just sweet standalone story of a girl who has quite a tragic backstory, and she goes to live with her uncle who runs a like a nature conservatory. Oh no, I'm thinking of the wrong book. Oh, I am thinking of the wrong book. Scrap that. Reverse. I was thinking of the plot of a completely different book. Let's start that again. Wild is the Witch. There is a nature conservatory, but just scrap the whole backstory because I've just confused it with another book that I read that has a very similar backstory at a nature conservatory. But this is at a nature conservatory, which her and her mother are at. And they have an intern there as well who is studying, I think, ornithology. He's studying birds. But he's a bit snarky. The two of them, you can tell there's banter, right? But it's kind of supposed to be a little bit enemies to lovers, but not truly enemies because they're both teenagers and it is quite sweet and gentle. But anyway, so she is a witch, and in this world, witches kind of came out of the closet, and there was an incident, and actually the tragic backstory here is a incident that happened to her best friend where she tried to turn her boyfriend into a witch. And it went horribly wrong, and the boy passed. There was a trial. She was found not to have any involvement in it, but still kind of the stigma remains. And this boy that kind of is an intern at their nature conservatory, conservancy, not conservatory, he is very anti-witches. So she's just trying to hide the fact that she's a witch from him and kind of from everyone. But something happens where she has to reverse a curse. And the two of them end up going out into the wilderness tracking an owl. Okay, it's beautiful. She can also not necessarily talk to animals, but she can like almost emote with animals, and she helps heal them. So it's a very beautiful magic. I loved this book. I loved the atmosphere of this book, and again, it's perfect fall vibes. Then Servant of Earth. So this is by Sarah Hawley. I am beside myself that the new book is coming out in like 2 months, I hope, 2-3 months. But this first one, I think, is perfect to read now, and then I think it's November that the next book is released. And I put this under magic because although this centers the Fae, there is a lot of magic in this book and a lot of practicing of magic, but amongst the Fae. And also, how autumnal is that cover? So, yeah, I'm putting it in there. Also, I love this book. So this is about our main character. She is human. And she's in this village where every year, like, a few girls are sacrificed to the Fae. Although they're not called sacrifices. They're like, oh, great opportunity. I've got an opportunity for you. Run when your boss says it. I've got an opportunity for you. You are going to go, we're going to send you to the Fae as a token of our appreciation. And the girls really believe that this is a good thing. But she's not so sure. She's like, Kenna's like, don't know about this. So her best friend actually gets chosen. So she runs after her to try and stop her, but actually ends up in Fairy with the whole Fae court looking at her. And it turns out that they're quite cruel. So think The Cruel Prince, but like cruel. Like they are wicked, and I loved that. And there's a lot of Fae politics going on. And she ends up being the servant to the Princess of Earth, who has to compete in this like coming of age trials that each Fae house sends their kind of would-be rulers, their young rulers to prove their worth and do these trials, and she has to assist the Princess of Earth in this trials, and there's a lot of magic in that's why I'm including it. It is phenomenal. I loved like the way the trials were done, the magic, the illusion magic is so cool, the vibes, the atmosphere. There's also an undercurrent of romance, but actually not a lot, so I think we're gonna get more romance in the second one, I think. But also Kenna as a main character, I loved her, and I hugely recommend this book in case that wasn't clear. Then we have The Crimson Moth. This is by Kristen Cicerelli. Obviously, Rebel Witch is the second book. I adore this duology. It is YA, but again, I think it has darker themes on it, and the magic is actually blood-themed magic, which I thought was really cool. I like that. I've since read a few kind of blood magic-themed books, but I really, really love that. I love the romance in this. So this is essentially between a witch and a witch hunter. So in this world, the witches used to rule, but they were then overthrown, and the muggles, the normals, they kind of now rule, and when they find a witch, they execute or stick them on the pyre. Do not burn witches. Burn marshmallows, but not witches. So our girl here is basically hiding the fact that she is a witch, but she's also, during the day, she's like this very vapid society girl. It kind of gives like Regency era, like Jane Austen vibes. You know, they go to parties and drink tea and things like that. But she's actually the Crimson Moth at night, which is like the rebel that's trying to help and save these witches from being burnt at the stake. And then you have Gideon, who is the chief witch hunter and like captain of the army, and the two of them play this kind of game of cat and mouse because she's trying to entrap him, he's trying to entrap her, and all the while they actually end up falling in love, and it is fabulous. And again, read it, it's amazing, it's so good. One Dark Window. yes, by Rachel Gillick. I have to eat my words, and I did actually quite literally eat paper when I said this the first time, but the first time I read this, I wasn't bothered, but I listened to it on audio, which was a mistake. I then read this after reading The Night and the Moth, which I thought was phenomenal as well. And I was like, yes, I get why everybody loves this book so much because it is phenomenal. It is very dark, very gothic. It is about our main character. She has got, so in this world, the magic is based around tarot and tarot cards, and you wield the magic of the cards. Certain families have cards, the king has cards, and the king has been searching for this missing card. Now, you have a band of rebels that are kind of against the king who are also searching for a complete deck of cards. But our main girl here, when she was young, she touched a card, the nightmare card, and now she has this voice, this entity living in her head that talks to her. It is my favorite part of the book, but she has to hide this from everybody because, again, infected people that are infected by the cards, they are in this kingdom. So it is, like I said, it is dark, it's spooky, it's gothic, it is the most perfect spooky season vibes. And if you haven't read it yet, I must be the last person to, but if you haven't, read it. Talking about dark, spooky, gothic vibes, Whispers Most Foul. This is by Emma MacDonald, and this is another book that I started and then kind of soft DNF'd because for whatever reason I wasn't feeling this earlier in the year. I picked it up now and I was like, what? What were you thinking? Like, I almost literally smacked myself because it is phenomenal. So, also, side note, this has like 50 ratings on Goodreads. People, you need to read this book. I need to do a whole video of the most underrated books that I've read that I love, and this is definitely top of that list. So this is set at Dunhollow Academy. Again, it's a magic school, and it's a kind of a university, so they're a little bit older in this. Well, I mean, they're not, it's not kids, it's university, right? And our main character, oh boy, poor Rose, she, there's the break, the school break. I think it's the summer break, and they're all coming back after summer break, so it's perfect for the season. And she is the only one kind of stuck at school because her mother's actually the headmaster of the school, and she's mean. Think the mother from Fourth Wing. And she's kind of in the library. She's very much a bookworm. She's very much into theoretical magic. She studies theoretical magic because she can't cast. And this is the bane of her mother's existence. So like I said, think Fourth Wing. Her mother really wants her to be a caster. She's like, no daughter of mine is going to be a historian or a theoretical magician. No, they need to be a magician. And she really can't cast. But what happens is she sees a reflection of a girl in a window. And it turns out that this girl has been missing. And she's probably seeing her ghost. Now, no one else can see the ghost. Only she can. She thinks she's losing her mind. Because, again, she's not supposed to be able to see ghosts. And this ghost is kind of haunting her. And the imagery in this book is so dark at times. Is so freaking creepy. I don't say that lightly. It is so good. These like images of this ghost and what this ghost is showing her. And then another girl goes missing from the school, and you get the impression that the mother is trying to hide it and the faculty is trying to hide what's really going on. And she kind of teams up with her best friend to try and figure out, and the ghost, to figure out what is actually happening and going on. And there's like a secret society element in this as well. So again, dark academia, really gothic, perfect for this time of year. Super spooky. I don't know why more people are not reading this book. It is phenomenal. Then another book that is phenomenal is The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. I love Crystal Sutherland's books. This was no exception. So The Invocations is about 3 girls, essentially, who go on a bit of a quest. They each have their thing going on. So you've got one girl who actually makes potions specifically for women who have been mistreated by their partners, so abused, in terrible relationships. She makes potions for them to, solve the problem. Then you've got another girl who is searching for her missing sister, and then you've got another girl as well that gets involved in this, and one of these girls has been cursed. So she's trying to figure out how to reverse this curse that she kind of brought on herself. But part of this curse is that her leg is rotting. And when I say it, I mean literally the descriptions in this book of her smell and her rotting leg will turn your stomach if it's not strong. And these 3 girls kind of team up to go on this quest together. So there's almost like a thriller element in this as well. There's a found family element. There's a sapphic romance in this. There is magic. There is a lot of discussion around agency and being a girl and a woman and girlhood. It's beautiful. It is stunning. It is creepy. It is dark. It is gothic. It is gross at times. It is magical. I absolutely love this book. Then another book that I love, and I don't know if this is going to be for everyone, but I love it. This is Hollow Heathens, and this is by Nicole Fiorina. This whole book is like a Tim Burton film, okay? It is set in this town where it's kind of perpetually Halloween. Okay, it's always dark and it's kind of always Halloween. But it's also about our main character, Fallon, who gets a note from her grandfather, I believe it is, kind of saying she needs to come quickly to this town. When she gets there, the town's called Weeping. It is Weeping Hollow, isn't it? Yes, it is Weeping Hollow. And her grandfather's like, I didn't know, leave. I didn't call you. Go get out while you still can. Turns out she can't. Literally, the town won't let her leave. And she sees these kind of masked men walking around town. She's like, oh, what is that? And they are the Heathens. And they are a magical family. So there's 2 kind of factions of, is there more than 2? There's a main 2 factions of different magical families on this island and in this town, and they have kind of been fighting for dominance. And these heathens have this ability, and the reason they wear these masks, if anybody sees them without their masks on, they basically, you die of fear. They show you your worst fear, your worst nightmare. So they kind of have to keep their faces constantly covered. And as you can imagine, romance ensues. And I love the description where, they had to be in the dark so he could kind of remove his mask. The love story in this is epic and beautiful and sweeping and just stunning. I loved it. Like I said, this whole town of Weeping Hollow is like a Tim Burton movie. I can totally see this being turned into a Tim Burton movie. Tim Burton, if you're watching, because he watches my channel, yeah, big fan, turn this into a film. Then Where the Dark Stand Still by A.B. Paranek. You may know that this is the same author that was on here before, but both books are phenomenal. So this one is about a girl who has magic, and she is kind of feared in her town for it. She wants to get rid of it. So the way she does this is she goes into this kind of dark mythical wood. Okay, and she goes to the kind of spirit of the wood, this sort of demon, and says, "Can I make a deal with you? Hi, Mr. Demon. Hi." This always goes well, making deals with demons. Can I make a deal with you? I will be your faithful apprentice and servant. Well, no, she doesn't want to be an apprentice. She just wants to be his faithful companion and servant for a year. And you take away my magic. And he's like, "Why the heck would you want to take away your magic? That's stupid, girl, but okay. But instead of just being my servant, you need to be my apprentice, and I want you to actually experience your magic and feel it and work through it." So she agrees, and he takes her back. This is kind of Beauty and the Beast coded as well. Takes her back to this incredible sentient gothic castle that I just want to live in. I don't know what that says about me, but I really want to. I mean, I'm trying to make my apartment look like a haunted gothic castle. Am I succeeding? I don't know. But it's just beautiful. Again, a love story in this. The descriptions, there's a lot of real dark, creepy descriptions, and then there's this beauty, and this again the sense of being outcast and misunderstood, and just the writing. A.B. Paranek has become one of my all-time favorite authors, right up there with my favorites of Ava Reid, Alexis Henderson, that write that kind of Lyndall Clipstone, that write that kind of darkly gothic, macabre but beautiful books. Just sensational. And actually, talking of Lyndall Clipstone and Alexis Henderson, the next two books, not unsurprisingly, by Lyndall Clipstone. So this is Unholy Terrors. Now, this is also a vampire story, but is a very different take on vampires, so I will say that. So he's going to be my vampire video, but I put it actually in this witch video because it's actually magic that's practiced here. So this starts off with our main character, and they are kind of guarding the walls of the town. So she's like one of the knights, centuries in the army for this town, and she's kind of guarding this town at night against essentially the vampires. But they practice this like bone magic, and their armor is made up of bones. And again, they use blood to activate these bones. And it's very dark. It's very gothic. And then for reasons, she ends up going into the wastelands where you shouldn't go, where the vampires live. And she encounters this boy, and it kind of changes the trajectory of her life. This book was so dark, so gothic. It made me cry. The love story, it's gut-wrenching just to think of this book. I want to read it, but I don't want to read it again, if that makes sense. I absolutely will read it again. I'll probably read it again around Halloween. But it was just such a gut-wrenching emotional ride for me. And Lyndall Clipstone's writing is immaculate when it comes to dark, gothic, beautiful, but macabre. I feel like you just have to go into this. I know there's people that are going to hate this book, but I think if you go into it for those vibes, try it, because this is one of my all-time favorite books. And then there's Alexis Henderson. Hi. The Year of the Witching, sorry. This is so phenomenal. So this is about our girl. She lives in this town that's very kind of puritanical. There is a preacher, and he kind of rules the town, but he has numerous wives. Cult leader. But it's all very in the name of God, you know. And he obviously is doing things that are, let's just say, would not be acceptable. And then you have our main character who, her mother kind of went off into these woods that surround the town, and they're known to be like the bad place, and it's where the witches come from. And she was accused of being a witch. And she had the baby just before she passed away, our main character. And of course, our main character has been tainted with that image of her witch mother, which is kind of following her through her life. And she's kind of having these like prophetic dreams, and she's trying to work out what is really going on here. And she feels like the witches of the past are calling to her, and she goes out into this wood. She finds a grimoire. She's trying to figure out what is happening and what is really going on in this town. And again, there's this discussion of good versus evil. What is actual evil? What is good? You know, should we believe everything we're taught? And there's a real sense of feminine rage. I will read Alexis Henderson's shopping list. I will read Alexis Henderson's notebook. I will read Alexis Henderson's to-do list. Anything this woman writes, I will read, and I will tell you I will enjoy it. Then let's move to something historical and a little lighter. So this is The Lighthouse Witches by C.J. Cook. This is a dual timeline. So I feel like C.J. Cook always writes dual timelines, because I also read The Book of Witching by C.J. Cook, which was also dual timeline, and also focused just on past of like witch burnings and persecutions, and then kind of the present. This one is a little bit more, I would say, avant-garde witchy. Okay, so this is about a woman who is fleeing something, and she ends up taking a job at this lighthouse in kind of the wilds of Scotland, or Wales? Scottish island, yeah. In the wilds of Scotland, to paint a mural. She's an artist on the wall of this lighthouse. It's a very strange mural. She's like, well, what the hell is this? But okay, it's a job, I'll do it. She brings her 3 daughters along. One of them is a teenager, one of them is like 9, and I think one of them's like 6 or 7 or something like that. And kind of from the get-go, the space is a little odd. There's some strange kind of stories and town tales of what's really going on here. And then people start going missing. And I don't really want to say more than that. So the beginning of this book, this is very, very, very beginning. You jump to 2012 in the perspective of one of the daughters who's now an adult. And she gets a phone call saying her missing sister's been found. But when she goes to see this girl is still the same age. She's like 7 or whatever that the sister was when she went missing. It's trippy. It's good. This kept me hooked. I really enjoyed it. Then we've got The Wayward Sisters. This is by Kate Hodgins. This, again, is slightly different. This is basically about astrology, so very dark academia as well. But this woman, this kind of Victorian time, she wants to be an astrologer, but of course she's a woman. And then she sees something hinky going on in the stars. They don't believe her. But she gets a phone call. Not a phone call, God, can you imagine? We're in Victorian era. She gets a telegram. PDF for 40 minutes. I think I'm losing my mind. She gets a message from a scholar of Shakespeare, and he actually asks her, he's like, hey, I want you to teach me about astrology. She's like, this is weird, but I'll go because it's a job, and he's actually taking me seriously. And he's fixated on Macbeth and the witches of Macbeth, and there's these 3 women that live in the town. Again, it's set in Scotland, and I'm not going to say any more than that because it's weird and trippy, and if you like astrology and Shakespeare, you may enjoy that. Then a classic. Actually, I'm going to hold these both up together because I feel like they kind of have similar vibes. So these are 2 of my all-time favorite books. So this is Nights at the Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and this is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Now, again, this is not witches more than it is magical and magic-centered. So, well, actually, they are witches. So in this one, The Night Circus, I actually just reread this because I adore it so much. You basically have 2 competing majors. Their kind of stage or their background for this particular magic contest is the Night Circus. And they compete by one of them performs as an illusionist in the circus, and they kind of create illusions, they create exhibits, and they create things within this circus. And you kind of have the backdrop of the circus, what's really going on. And also over the years and over time, the 2 of them, who are supposed to be essentially enemy combatants, fall in love. Now, I heard somebody say, if you want a plot line, this is not the book for you, but if you want the vibes, read it. Then you've got Caraval by Stephanie Garber. I probably don't need to go into much detail because I'm sure most people have read Caraval, but I'm just going to mention it if you haven't. This is about 2 sisters who, one of them is about to be forced into marriage and she wants to kind of get away from it, but she's always heard about this magic kind of again, let's call it a contest or a quest or a tournament called Caraval, and it's by invitation only. She's always tried to get an invite. She hasn't before. This year, she gets an invite to Caraval. She gets an invite to perform and participate in Caraval. So her and her sister go off to this magical contest and take part in it. It's a 3-book series. It's sensational. The follow-up, Once Upon a Broken Heart, that series, I highly recommend that as well. But I adore Stephanie Gobb, and I cannot wait for her new book coming out soon. Then, okay, if you're still here, leave me a witch emoji. Ow! Book just fell on my foot. We've got 3 more to go. So, Payback's a Witch. This is by Lana Harper. This, again, was a recent read. Really enjoyed it. It is, again, set in this town that's very kind of Halloween town coded. It is a town of witches. And our main character has kind of been away from this town for years because something happened that she, with a boy in the town, and when she was in high school and when she graduated, she was like, I'm leaving. Nobody takes me seriously in this town. There's 4 founding families, and her family is always kind of seen as the joke, as the ones with the least power. So she's been away, but she's called back because there's this magical contest happening where a member of the other 3 families competes, and she has to be the adjudicator as the scion of her family line, of the Harlow family. So she reluctantly comes back to town. Lots of romantic issues ensue. In fact, this is also a sapphic romance, and her love interest in this, the Armenroth heir, I love that girl. Yeah, I understand why Talia is the main love interest. So that family is very kind of Adam's family coded, and they're kind of the darker ones, and they have necromancy and they see ghosts and stuff like that. Each family has a different affinity. The Thorn family has an affinity for trees and plants. And then you have the Blackmoor family, Blackmoor family, who is kind of the ones that are very prosperous, and they lord their power over everybody else. But these 3 heirs have to take part in this contest. And then I wish we had more of the contest, if I'm completely honest. Some of the romance could have been cut and we could have added more of the contest. But I really loved this, and this is the first book in an interconnected series, and I will be reading further in the series because I loved it. Then Morgan Is My Name by Sophie Keach. Love this book. So this is again the first, I've got the second book actually right there, Le Fay, which I'm going to read, but this is kind of a retelling of Morgan or Morgana from the King Arthur legend. So it's a bit of a King Arthur retelling, but centering Morgan as the main character. So she was always seen as the witch, and she was always seen as the evil one in the Arthur stories, but this kind of gives a new perspective to her kind of growing up in this world, being married off, kind of wanting to study healing essentially, but having these powers beyond just reading about the body in books and being able to heal people and having to hide these powers, and then kind of how the story progresses and how the Arthur story progresses. But if you love King Arthur and you love that world as I do, I was a massive King Arthur fan. I used to watch everything Arthurian, and I love anything based around those legends. This is fantastic and so easily readable, very bingeable. And then the last book I went, because I've talked about this a lot, but this is The Robin on the Oak Throne. Wren and the Holy Library is the first book, and these are urban fantasies, but our main character very much practices a lot of magic. Actually, our main characters practice a lot of magic, so there's a lot of magic in this. There's kind of Celtic and Irish folklore interwoven into this magic, werewolves, fairies, mages. I need a drink. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's books I'm missing. There'll be a part 359 to my witches. But if you're here, if anybody's here, leave me a witch hat or witch emoji. And I love you all very much. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. And I'll see you all again very soon. Have a magical day. Bye.